When the lights go out and there's no power coming back, most people panic in the dark. But you? You're going to be the one who sees clearly while everyone else stumbles blind. If you're serious about surviving when the grid collapses, hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to learn could be the difference between controlled survival and complete chaos. Drop a like if you refuse to be caught unprepared, and let's dive into something that separates the prepared from the victims. Darkness isn't just inconvenient during a crisis, it's dangerous. It strips away your ability to navigate, to defend yourself, to read critical information, to perform medical procedures, to cook safely, to signal for help. When Hurricane Katrina hit, thousands of families sat in pitch-black homes for weeks, unable to see threats approaching, unable to care for injuries, unable to maintain basic hygiene in the dark. During the Texas freeze of 2021, people died because they couldn't see carbon monoxide building up from improvised heating methods. Lighting isn't a comfort issue during emergencies, it's a survival necessity. And the good news? You don't need expensive solar panels or fancy battery systems to keep your world illuminated when everything falls apart. Let's start with something you probably think is outdated and useless: animal fat candles. Before you dismiss this as primitive, understand that rendered animal fat, especially tallow from beef or mutton, burns longer and cleaner than almost any commercial candle you can buy. A single pound of beef tallow can provide approximately 20 hours of continuous light. Here's what makes this critical. Animal fat is a byproduct most people throw away. After you butcher an animal, or even after cooking fatty cuts of meat, you have free fuel sitting in your kitchen. To render tallow, you cut the fat into small chunks, heat it slowly in a pot until it melts completely, strain out the solid bits through cheesecloth or a fine mesh strainer, and pour the liquid fat into containers with wicks. For wicks, use 100% cotton string, strips of cotton fabric, or even tightly rolled strips of cardboard. The key is braiding the wick tightly so it burns slowly and doesn't collapse into the melted fat. Pour your rendered fat into small tin cans, glass jars, or molds. Insert the wick in the center while the fat is still liquid, and let it solidify completely. What you get is a candle that costs essentially nothing and provides reliable light for hours. The flame produces a warm, steady glow that's perfect for reading, cooking preparation, or any detailed work you need to perform after dark. Unlike commercial candles that can cost several dollars each and burn out in a few hours, tallow candles represent pure efficiency. You're taking something that would otherwise be waste and transforming it into survival currency. But here's where most people fail. They don't render enough fat when times are good. If you're processing meat now, save every scrap of fat. Even the small pieces trimmed from steaks or roasts add up quickly. Render it in batches and store it in sealed containers in a cool, dark place. Properly rendered tallow can last years without refrigeration if kept away from heat and light. The fat naturally preserves itself when properly processed. During a prolonged blackout, this stockpile becomes your lighting currency. One family in rural Montana survived a 2-week winter storm using nothing but tallow candles they'd made from deer fat after hunting season. They had light every night while their neighbors burned through expensive emergency candles in 3 days. This isn't theoretical. This is proven survival knowledge that works when modern solutions fail. The rendering process itself is simple but requires patience. Never rush it by using high heat, which can burn the fat and create smoke and unpleasant odors. Low and slow is the method that produces clean, odorless tallow that burns beautifully. Once you've strained the liquid fat, you can add essential oils or dried herbs if you want scented candles, though pure tallow works perfectly without any additives. The historical record shows that tallow candles illuminated homes, churches, and workplaces for thousands of years before electricity. They sustained entire civilizations through dark winters and long nights. That same technology works just as effectively today when the power grid fails. Now let's talk about olive oil lamps, which have kept humans alive and working after dark for literally thousands of years. Olive oil burns clean, produces minimal smoke, and doesn't require any processing beyond what you buy at the store. Here's the simple setup. Take a small glass jar or bowl, fill it about 3/4 full with olive oil, and create a wick holder. The easiest method is to take a piece of aluminum foil, Fold it into a narrow strip and curl one end into a small float that sits on the surface of the oil. Thread a cotton wick through a small hole in the foil, letting about ½ an inch stick up above the oil surface. Light the exposed wick, and you have a lamp that burns for 8 to 12 hours on just a few ounces of oil. The flame is steady, the light is surprisingly bright, and you can adjust the brightness by using multiple wicks or larger containers. What makes olive oil brilliant for survival lighting is its dual purpose. It's food and fuel in one bottle. You're not storing something that only works for emergencies. You're storing something you use regularly in cooking, which means you rotate your stock naturally, and it never goes bad. Compare this to kerosene or lamp oil, which are single-purpose, potentially toxic, and require special storage. Olive oil is safe around children, non-toxic if spilled, and produces no dangerous fumes in enclosed spaces. A single gallon of olive oil can provide over 200 hours of light. During the extended power outages after Superstorm Sandy, families who understood this principle had light every night for weeks using olive oil they already had in their pantries. They didn't need to raid stores or rely on battery supplies that ran out in days. Here's a critical upgrade to the basic oil lamp. Add a proper wick holder made from a metal bottle cap. Take any metal bottle cap, punch a small hole in the center with a nail or drill bit, thread your cotton wick through the hole, and place the cap on top of your oil container with the wick hanging down into the oil. This creates a more stable, longer-lasting lamp because the metal cap controls the burn rate and prevents the wick from falling into the oil. The metal also conducts heat away from the wick, preventing it from burning too quickly. You can make a dozen of these wick holders in 10 minutes using caps from soda bottles, beer bottles, or any screw-top container. Store them with your oil supply, and you have an instant lighting system that requires zero electricity and costs almost nothing. The ancient Romans and Greeks used virtually identical oil lamps to illuminate their homes, streets, and public buildings. Archaeological evidence shows these lamps remained functional for centuries because the design is fundamentally sound. Clay vessels with olive oil and cotton or flax wicks provided reliable light that allowed advanced civilizations to function after sunset. You're not improvising with untested methods. You're using lighting technology that has a proven track record spanning millennia. When modern systems collapse, ancient wisdom often proves more reliable than contemporary shortcuts. Next, let's address something most preppers completely overlook: vegetable shortening lamps. Crisco and other solid vegetable shortenings are essentially emergency candles waiting to happen. Take a can of shortening, insert a cotton wick in the center, and light it. The shortening melts slowly around the wick and burns like a massive candle. A single 3-pound can of Crisco can burn continuously for 45 days. Read that again. 45 days of light from one can that costs less than $5. This isn't a theory. Emergency management agencies have tested this extensively. During Hurricane Harvey, families used shortening lamps to maintain light for weeks when batteries were impossible to find and candles had sold out everywhere. The beauty of shortening lamps is their stability and safety. Unlike liquid fuels that can spill and spread fire across surfaces, shortening stays solid until heated by the flame. If knocked over, it doesn't create a spreading fire hazard. It's food safe, shelf-stable for years, and completely non-toxic. You can use it for cooking during the day and lighting at night. The flame is steady and produces enough light to read by, cook by, or perform detailed tasks. To maximize efficiency, use multiple wicks in larger containers to increase brightness, or use single wicks for low, long-lasting light. Keep several cans in your pantry rotation, and you have hundreds of hours of emergency lighting that doubles as cooking fat. The chemical composition of vegetable shortening makes it ideal for long burn applications. It's essentially hydrogenated vegetable oil with a high fat content and slow oxidation rate. This means it burns cleanly without producing excessive smoke or dangerous fumes. Unlike paraffin candles, which are petroleum-based and can release harmful chemicals when burned in enclosed spaces, shortening is made from food-grade materials that are safe even in poorly ventilated areas. For families with children, elderly members, or anyone with respiratory sensitivities, this safety factor is critical during extended indoor use. Now we're moving into territory most people never consider: bacon grease lamps. Every time you cook bacon, you're creating emergency fuel. Don't pour that grease down the drain. Pour it into small jars and save it. Bacon grease burns beautifully as lamp fuel. It smells better than most lamp oils, produces a warm, steady flame, and like tallow, it's completely free if you're already eating bacon. To use bacon grease as lamp fuel, let it solidify in a jar, insert a wick, and light it exactly like a candle. Or keep it liquid and use it in the same setup as olive oil lamps. The fat content in bacon grease is high enough to sustain a flame for hours on minimal fuel. What separates survivors from victims during extended blackouts is resourcefulness. While others are complaining they can't find batteries or candles, you're looking at your kitchen and seeing fuel everywhere. That jar of bacon grease? That's 10 hours of light. That can of shortening? That's a month and a half of illumination. That bottle of olive oil? That's weeks of steady, reliable light that doesn't require a single battery or power source. This mindset shift is everything. You're not dependent on supply chains or stores. You're dependent on knowledge and preparation. The practical application extends beyond just bacon grease. Any cooking fat with sufficient density will work. Duck fat, chicken fat, lard, beef drippings, all of these can be collected, stored, and used as emergency lighting fuel. The key is filtering out food particles that can cause smoking or unpleasant odors. Pour the hot grease through a coffee filter or several layers of cheesecloth into clean storage jars. Label them with the date and type of fat. Store them in a cool, dark place. When properly filtered and stored, these fats remain usable for months or even years. You're building a lighting reserve that costs nothing beyond what you're already spending on food. Let's talk about tin can lanterns, which transform trash into functional lighting tools. Take any empty metal can, remove the label, and use a hammer and nail to punch holes around the sides in whatever pattern you want. Place a candle or oil lamp inside the can, light it, and the can becomes a protective lantern that shields the flame from wind, prevents accidental contact burns, and directs light where you need it. The punched holes create focused beams of light, while the metal reflects additional illumination outward. This is how people survived dark nights before flashlights existed, and it's how you'll survive when batteries die and stores are empty. The tactical advantage of tin can lanterns is their versatility. Hang them from wire handles for overhead lighting. Set them on surfaces for task lighting. Carry them for mobile illumination. The metal protects the flame from being extinguished by wind or accidental contact, which is critical during outdoor use or in drafty emergency shelters. You can make dozens of these from cans you'd normally recycle. Soup cans, coffee cans, vegetable cans, any metal can works. Punch different hole patterns for different lighting effects. Larger holes for brighter, more diffused light. Smaller holes for focused beams. Decorative patterns aren't just aesthetic, they're functional, controlling how light spreads in your space. Creating a wire handle is simple. Punch 2 holes near the top rim on opposite sides of the can. Thread heavy wire through both holes and twist the ends to secure them. Now you have a portable lantern that can hang from tree branches, ceiling hooks, or tent poles. During camping trips or outdoor emergency situations, these lanterns provide wind-resistant lighting that battery-powered options can't match. The metal construction also means they're virtually indestructible. Drop them, kick them, expose them to rain or snow. They keep functioning. That durability matters when you're dealing with the chaos and physical demands of survival situations. Here's a lighting method that seems absurd until you try it. Crayons. A standard crayon burns for approximately 30 minutes. The wax body acts as fuel, and the paper wrapper acts as a wick initially, though you can remove it and light the wax directly. Light the top of a crayon, and it burns like a small candle. A box of 64 crayons provides 32 hours of emergency light and costs less than $5. Keep a few boxes in your emergency supplies, and you have compact, lightweight, child-safe emergency lighting that works when everything else fails. During winter storms, parents have used crayon lighting to keep children calm and occupied while providing necessary illumination without the fire hazard of larger candles. The brilliance of crayon lighting is the psychological factor. Children aren't afraid of crayons. If you need to keep kids calm during a scary blackout, letting them help choose which color crayon to burn next gives them a sense of control and distraction from the crisis. The light is gentle, non-threatening, and familiar. Meanwhile, you're getting real, functional illumination that doesn't drain your primary lighting resources. Strategic preppers stock crayons not just for children's activities, but as legitimate emergency fuel that most people completely overlook. The paraffin wax in crayons is essentially the same material used in traditional candles, just molded into a different shape with added pigments. For maximum efficiency, you can cluster several crayons together to create a brighter flame. Stand 3 or 4 crayons upright in a small container filled with sand or salt to hold them in place. Light all of them simultaneously, and you have a much more substantial light source. This technique is particularly useful when you need brighter illumination for specific tasks, but want to conserve your longer-burning fuel sources. The modularity of crayons allows you to scale your lighting up or down based on immediate needs without committing to hours of burn time from larger candles or lamps. Now, let's discuss something that separates true survivors from pretenders: sardine can lamps. Take a can of sardines packed in oil, don't drain it, and insert a cotton wick through the oil into the fish. Light the wick, and the fish oil burns while the sardines cook. You get light and hot food simultaneously from a single resource. This was used by soldiers, sailors, and explorers for over a century because it's brilliantly efficient. One can provide light for hours and a hot meal. During extended emergencies when cooking fuel is scarce, this dual-purpose approach conserves resources that others waste on separate lighting and cooking. The key to sardine can lamps is choosing the right product. You need sardines packed in oil, not water. Olive oil-packed sardines work best because olive oil burns cleanly and efficiently. Soybean oil works too. The wick needs to extend down into the oil, not just rest on top. As the oil burns, it heats the sardines, cooking them slowly. The result is edible, hot food and hours of light from a single can that weighs a few ounces and costs about $2. For bug-out bags, camping, or emergency kits where weight and space matter, sardine can lamps are unbeatable. You're carrying food that doubles as fuel, eliminating the need for separate fire-starting materials or cooking equipment. The historical use of this technique is fascinating. Military field manuals from World War II documented sardine can lamps as improvised lighting for soldiers in combat zones where standard equipment was unavailable. Fishermen used them on boats when kerosene supplies ran low. Arctic explorers relied on them when traditional fuels became too dangerous in extreme cold. The method works because it's fundamentally sound. Oil burns, heat transfers to food, and you accomplish 2 survival necessities with 1 compact resource. In modern survival situations, this same principle applies perfectly. Finally, let's address the most overlooked lighting resource: reflective surfaces. Light multiplication is as important as light creation. 1 small candle in a dark room provides minimal illumination. That same candle positioned in front of aluminum foil, mirrors, or other reflective surfaces doubles or triples its effective brightness. This isn't speculation, it's basic physics. Light reflects off shiny surfaces and spreads throughout the space instead of being absorbed by dark walls and furniture. During blackouts, families who understand this principle use half the lighting resources while maintaining the same visibility as those burning twice as many candles. Here's the practical application. Position your oil lamps, candles, or other light sources in front of reflective surfaces. Aluminum foil taped to walls or cardboard works perfectly. Mirrors positioned behind lights amplify their output dramatically. Metallic emergency blankets, those cheap reflective sheets in first aid kits, make excellent light reflectors when hung behind your light sources. A single candle with proper reflective positioning can illuminate an entire room adequately for reading, cooking, or first aid. Without reflective positioning, that same candle struggles to light a small corner. This knowledge multiplies your lighting resources without requiring additional fuel, supplies, or expense. White walls and ceilings also maximize light efficiency. During renovations or repainting, choosing light colors isn't just aesthetic, it's tactical. Light-colored surfaces reflect ambient light, keeping spaces brighter with less fuel consumption. Dark colors absorb light, requiring more candles or lamps to achieve the same visibility. If you're setting up a long-term emergency shelter or safe room, paint it white or cover dark surfaces with white fabric or paper. The difference in required lighting is substantial, directly impacting how long your fuel supplies last. Survival isn't just about having resources, it's about using them efficiently so they last as long as possible. The science of reflection is straightforward but often ignored. Light travels in waves that bounce off surfaces at predictable angles. Smooth, shiny surfaces reflect the most light. Rough or dark surfaces absorb it. By strategically placing reflective materials around your light sources, you're essentially creating multiple light sources from a single flame. The reflected light travels in different directions, filling spaces that would otherwise remain dark. This is why professional photographers and videographers use reflectors to fill in shadows. You're applying the same principle to survival lighting. Consider the placement of your lighting strategically. Corner placement with reflectors on two adjacent walls creates even better light distribution than single wall reflection. Hanging reflective materials from the ceiling above your light source directs light downward, where you actually need it for tasks. Experiment with different configurations during non-emergency situations to understand what works best in your specific spaces. When the blackout hits, you'll already know exactly how to position everything for maximum efficiency. Here's what separates people who survive comfortably during extended blackouts from those who suffer. They understand that lighting isn't about buying expensive equipment. It's about knowledge, resourcefulness, and using what's already available. While others panic buy flashlights that die when batteries run out, you're using fat rendered from meat scraps, oil from your pantry, shortening that doubles as cooking fat, and bacon grease you'd normally throw away. You're creating light from crayons, sardine cans, and tin cans that others throw in the trash. You're multiplying every light source with reflective materials that cost nothing. This isn't about living in the dark ages. This is about being prepared for when modern conveniences fail. When the grid goes down for days, weeks, or longer, your family will have light every single night. You'll be able to read, cook, maintain hygiene, perform first aid, and defend your space because you can see what's happening. You'll keep children calm because the darkness doesn't control your household. You'll maintain normalcy and routine because lighting allows normal activities to continue. Meanwhile, others will be stumbling in the dark, unable to function, vulnerable to accidents and threats they can't see coming. Every method covered here works. Every technique has been tested in real emergencies by real people who survived because they had light when others didn't. Animal fat candles kept frontier families alive through brutal winters. Olive oil lamps illuminated ancient civilizations and still work perfectly today. Shortening lamps provide weeks of continuous light from one cheap can. Bacon grease turns waste into fuel. Tin can lanterns protect flames and direct light efficiently. Crayons provide compact emergency illumination. Sardine can lamps deliver light and hot food simultaneously. Reflective surfaces multiply every light source without additional fuel consumption. The question isn't whether these methods work. The question is whether you'll take action now, while you still can, to prepare for when the lights go out and don't come back on. Will you render fat the next time you cook meat? Will you start saving bacon grease instead of throwing it away? Will you stock olive oil and shortening knowing they're both food and fuel? Will you collect tin cans and punch patterns for emergency lanterns? Will you buy crayons and sardines for your emergency kit? Will you position reflective materials around your home? These aren't difficult actions. They're simple, cheap, and incredibly effective. But knowledge without action is worthless. Knowing how to make animal fat candles doesn't help if you haven't rendered any fat. Understanding olive oil lamps doesn't matter if you have no oil stored. Being aware of shortening lamps is meaningless if you don't have shortening when the blackout hits. Survivors act before the crisis. Victims wish they had after it's too late. Which one are you going to be? The grid is more fragile than most people realize. Cyber attacks, solar flares, cascading failures, infrastructure decay, natural disasters, any of these can trigger blackouts that last far longer than a few hours. When Texas froze and millions lost power for days, people weren't prepared. They suffered in the dark, cold, and confusion. When hurricanes knock out power for weeks across entire regions, families who didn't prepare face terrifying nights with no light, no ability to see threats, no way to function normally. But the families who understood what you just learned, they had light every single night. They maintained routines. They stayed calm. They survived comfortably while chaos surrounded them. Consider the cascade effect of losing lighting during an emergency. Without light, you can't read medication labels correctly, which leads to dangerous dosing errors. You can't perform proper wound care or identify infections developing. You can't see to cook safely, increasing fire and burn risks. You can't monitor your surroundings for threats or intruders. You can't maintain sanitation standards because you can't see dirt, contamination, or waste properly. You can't keep accurate records or maintain communication systems that require reading. Everything becomes exponentially more dangerous and difficult in complete darkness. Having reliable, sustainable lighting isn't a luxury. It's the foundation that makes every other survival task possible. Don't just watch this video and forget it. Act on it. Start today. Cook bacon tonight and save the grease. Buy a gallon of olive oil and a few cans of shortening this week. Collect some tin cans and make lanterns this weekend. Stock crayons in your emergency kit. Pick up a few cans of sardines packed in oil. Position aluminum foil or mirrors behind your existing emergency lights. These small actions compound into serious preparedness that saves your family when darkness falls. And if you want to go deeper, you'll find in the pinned comment some guides and documents that can take your preparedness to the next level. Check them out when you're ready. This is about control. When everyone else loses the ability to see, you maintain full functionality. When others are helpless in the dark, you're cooking, reading, organizing, defending, thriving. When supply chains collapse and stores run empty, you're using resources you already have, resources others throw away. That's real preparedness. That's real survival. That's the difference between being a victim and being someone who refuses to be broken by circumstances. If this information just changed how you think about emergency lighting, prove it. Hit that like button right now because this knowledge needs to reach others before it's too late. Share this video with everyone you care about who isn't prepared for extended blackouts. Comment below and tell me which method you're implementing first, because your commitment inspires others to act. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because when the next crisis hits, you want this kind of practical, life-saving information delivered straight to you. Don't just survive the darkness, master it. Your family is counting on you to be ready when everything goes black.